Good morning. Welcome to the Monday morning live stream. I'm not usually here on Monday mornings, but here we are. This is day 3 of a 6-day sprint where really I'm just putting in a little extra time to try and get a project done. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. Today is Monday, March 9th. How's it going? Also running a little bit late. I apologize for that. I was already having so many issues with not being on time and then daylight savings time for the win. So I feel like actually I'm technically 35 minutes early because if it wasn't for daylight savings time, it wouldn't be 10:55 a.m. It would be 9:55 a.m. So there's that. Anyways, here we are. Gosh, I forgot to get the chat ready. I knew I was forgetting something. One moment here. All right, there we go. I did actually get up and get everything else ready to go. All right, Malik Robinson is here. Go Elmo is our mod in the chat. Yeah, we might as well just get right into it, huh? Oh, this is a good reminder. Thank you, Malik. First of all, if you're new here, welcome. Thank you so much. The channel is growing. I'm super happy with the folks that come and hang out during the streams and talk to me in the chat. It's a lot of fun. We have a sizable international audience, which I think is super interesting. It's rough out there. It's not just rough in the US, it's rough everywhere around the world right now if you're a developer. Big tech companies doing mass layoffs. New developers are competing against some really experienced software engineers and software developers out there. So I'm very empathetic to that. If you want to come hang out here, I've been doing this now for almost 13 years. It'll be 13 years in May. I love being a front-end developer and a software engineer. There isn't anything else that I would rather do, and I've had more than one career in my life. This is the one that finally took. This is the one where I felt like I was put on this earth to do this work. I love it that much. So hopefully this is a place where you feel like you can hang out and actually learn something. And if you're new here, go ahead and like the video, subscribe if you're not already. It helps the algorithm. It helps push this type of content out to people who might be interested in front-end development. I'm also over on Instagram. If you want to follow me there, you're welcome to send me a DM if you have questions about anything that I'm doing on the channel. So there's that. And yeah, if you would like to have your messages read out loud to the class, go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll do it like that. So here's the project that we're working on. We started yesterday working on the page template. If you need a refresher of what we're doing, I went through my collection and I pulled out some Photoshop mockups. This is what I did back at the height of my freelancing. I bought what I like to call low fidelity mockups, where I just needed help with like layout and those types of ideas. This was incredibly useful for me when I was doing client work because this was one less thing that I had to think of, right? Doing a layout. Once you add your client's branding, logo, color palette, images, content, it's a completely unique website. So if you are looking for ways to practice, do what I'm doing. I'm just going through my collection of Photoshop mockups. And that's all we do on this channel with vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I don't use any frameworks here. I don't use any libraries. It's not because I have anything against those things. I just like building vanilla. This is my practice time. I enjoy that process. And I don't need Node. I don't need a compiler. I don't need a package manager. I just need index.html, style.css, javascript.js, the 3 things the browser renders natively. And that's all I do here is practice. If you have a desire to get better, especially at vanilla CSS, I suggest that you do a project where you just write vanilla CSS. It completely changed how I work after over a decade of using Sass, really. I was not as good with my CSS as I thought I was till I started building vanilla. So that's what I did here is I grabbed 4 mockups. We're building a static website from scratch, all vanilla. We finished the home page. So this is the home page layout. And this is what we actually have. I do have this linked, the GitHub repository, down in the description. I also suggest when you're building a project through any framework, library, whatever method you choose, build the home page first, top to bottom. Make sure it's accessible, make sure that it is mobile responsive. By the time you get your header, your footer, your layout, your navigation, you get all of those things done, regardless of how many pages your site has, I'm telling you, it will be literally half done because you got the 2 biggest things that appear on every single page, the header and the footer, done. And you will have so many of your styles, your layout defined, your color palette defined. You'll have all those things kind of teed up and ready to go for your inner pages. That's exactly what we did here. So the inner pages are done. Now we're in the process of just copying the home page and treating it like a template. And if we look here, this is the page template index.html. All I did, I'll collapse this. And I'm going to collapse this. All I did was make a copy of the home page and replace everything inside main. That's what I did to create these inner pages. For the page template specifically, I asked ChatGPT to give me something called kitchen sink HTML. And that's just a sample of common HTML elements that really every website should style. And I should be doing this more often. I've done this one other time on one other project. Everything that I do on this channel is open source, freely available on GitHub, personal, commercial. If you feel like this is something that you could use in your project, you are welcome to fork it and use it any way that you want to. But I do think that if I'm going to do that, I should be doing more kitchen sink styling to make sure that I'm including styles that aren't specifically in the mockups. And so that's things like tables and lists and making sure that all of the headings are styled, making sure that we've got styles for block quotes, things like that. So this is where we're at right now. We're going to keep going down this list today to make sure that we get sort of this generic kitchen sink styling done. And then we're going to use this page template for the about page and the contact page. And we are going to make a working contact form. This contact page is also what I'm using as kind of the page template. I liked this layout. Actually, I think what I would like to do is we need some properly optimized images for the banner. Right now, all of our images are, let's see here. Here's our images. So all of our optimized images, and we've got a variety here. This is like the biggest size. They're all no bigger than 1024 by 1024. So let's grab any image with a landscape aspect ratio, which there are 5, and let's recrop these so they're suitable for a banner, right? A hero, a full width hero. So we can do that really easily with, one second here. There we go. We can do that really easily with Affinity Photo. So one moment. I see some comments in the chat and I'm going to look at those in just give me 5 seconds. And Clash of Clans Legend is here. Hello, welcome. How are you doing? And I'm going to America to take the IELTS and work in the programming field. I'm very interested. Are you a volunteer? IELT, I don't know what IELTS is. IELTS. The world's most trusted English test. Let's see here. Oh, so this has to do with immigration. Our tests are trusted by thousands. Make this a little bigger. Our tests are trusted by thousands of people and organizations around the globe, and IELTS is the only English test accepted by all immigration authorities that require you to prove your English skills. IELTS is accepted by all 4 immigration authorities who require proof of English skills. It's a certificate, so you can come to the U.S. This is I think this is amazing. I'm not a volunteer for this. No, do you think I should be? So this is for academic institutions, government, employer, and teachers. News and insights. I'm not a volunteer for this. I'll be honest, I don't think I would have time for something like this. But congratulations. I mean, this is amazing. I hope that you do well on your test. I mean, you seem like a very good communicator in the chat. So your English skills, in my opinion, appear to be quite good. So I think that you're going to do swimmingly on the test, and I wish you all the best. Hopefully you can come back and let us know how things go. Where in the United States are you going? It's a big country. It's big here. For context, I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. Let me see here. Let's pull up maps. If you don't know where I live, well, hang on one second here. Rather than give you my exact location, let's see here. So I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. Let me zoom out here. Let's just look at the United States. For context, so here's Minnesota right here. And we're on the border of Canada, pretty much smack dab in the middle of the United States. And then for context, Malik, Gogo Elmo in the chat, lives in Florida, which is all the way down here at the southeast, most southeast you can get in the United States. So for context, it's a big country. It's a big country. So I would love to know where you're going. Yeah, I live in Minnesota. I live right here. And I live in this little dot right here. I live in St. Paul. St. Paul is not a big city. I mean, honestly, so it's called the Twin Cities because it's Minneapolis and St. Paul, and we're right next to each other. So here's Minneapolis right here. Here's St. Paul right here. So I live in downtown St. Paul. I'm not obviously going to give you my address, but this is downtown St. Paul right here. So this is the Mississippi River. Here's downtown St. Paul. Here's downtown Minneapolis. Minneapolis is by far the bigger of the two cities, but they're right next to each other. It's called the Twin Cities. So this is where I live. And yeah, we're right on the border to Canada. Fun fact, I've lived, this close to Canada my whole life, and I've never actually been to Canada. I would like to go someday. So I've never been to Mexico either, but I used to live in San Diego. I lived in San Diego, California for 2 years. I'll show you where I lived. I think I've showed you this before. I lived in San Diego, California for 2 years. That was in right here, 2014 and 2015. And I loved it. The weather was beautiful. I drove up to Los Angeles a couple of times. I drove to Disneyland once. I've been to Northern California. I've been to San Francisco, but that was like in the 90s. I had a friend who lived in San Francisco on the East Bay, and when it must have been 96, 97, something like that, I flew out and I visited her. So that was a while ago. But yeah, I lived in San Diego for 2 years. Never went to Mexico or Tijuana. Knew lots and lots of people in San Diego who would regularly go to Tijuana. TJ, they just called it TJ there. I was too scared. Mexico, I think, I feel very nervous about going to Mexico, especially alone. So, yeah, anyways, somebody is very worried that I'm giving out too much information. There's nothing here. I'm open about the fact that I live in St. Paul, Minnesota, and my address is not here, so I'm not worried about it. Yeah, let me see here. Hang on, Minnesota. I lost you right here. So, yeah, so I think the Twin Cities are really nice, actually. I was happy to move back here and move back to, I mean, I miss the weather in San Diego, but my family is here. You know how it goes. Family is strong. So, and Seha is here. Hello. Let's see here. Do not provide more information. I can locate the exact address. Yeah, I don't think that I provided that much information. I'm very open about the fact that I live in downtown St. Paul. So, hackers everywhere. Yeah, I know. And ABC123 lives in Nepal. We have other people in the chat who live in Nepal. Yeah, downtown St. Paul, Minnesota. St. Paul is the capital of Minnesota. So we've been in the national news lately for a few years now for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, so there's that. I promise you, I'm one of the normal ones. I'm one of the normies in Minnesota. Most people in Minnesota are normies. I think the national news makes things look much, much worse here. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some things here going on that are not good. But also, most people are just living their lives. So, oh, I'm so sorry, Clash of Clans. It looks like Nightbot got you. So, I'm not sure. You live in Uzbekistan. I don't know why that got flagged and deleted. I apologize for that. Clash of Clans says that he lives in Uzbekistan. And hang on, there's some. Should we just go ahead and fix these Nightbot settings once and for all? Let's just do it. Because a lot of people get flagged that don't need to be flagged. So hang on here 1 second. We'll do it together. Okay. So here's Nightbot. Commands. Chat moderation. Excess caps. I'm going to turn that off. Excess emotes. I'll turn that off too. Oh, this filter allows you to time out users abusing emotes. What's an emote? Excess symbols. This filter allows you to time out users spamming excessive symbols. So I'm going to turn off excess caps and excess symbols. Cap spam is one reason and emote spam is another. I'll turn these off. We'll turn them back on if we need to. Yeah, that's Nightbot doing its job. So I apologize about that, Clash of Clans. Clash of Clans lives in Uzbekistan. Let us know if you want to let us know where you are moving to in the US. Like if you know what state or city you're moving to, if you're comfortable doing so. And hopefully I didn't freak people out by cracking open Google Maps. Listen, one time I opened up Google Maps during a live stream, but I opened it up like in the normal browser and it did show my address and I had to go back and blur it out. Yeah, so I've learned the hard way to make sure that if you're going to open up Google Maps, open it up incognito so it doesn't show your address. So, and ABC123 says, I make my first project yesterday, a birthday wishing 3 pages for my girlfriend. It's very interesting to do and learn for me as a beginner. I think projects like that are excellent. Here's why. You should definitely pick projects that you have a deep interest in. Find something that you genuinely, truly want to do because you are going to run into a lot of obstacles. Problems that you never even imagined are going to present themselves. And that's how the project-based learning really works, because you're going to sit down thinking that you're just going to make a simple landing page or a simple 3-page site or build a simple app, and then problems and issues and things that you could never have anticipated are going to present themselves as problems that need to be solved, and that's where the real learning comes. So I can't stress that enough. And Melissa's pretty sure I will get hit if I type too many messages back to back, and I think typing any word multiple times will get me timed out. Actually, the mods, since Malik is a mod, you are kind of immune from things like that. So you are allowed to do things in the chat that normal chatters aren't allowed to do. Yeah, I don't think emote spam is good now, and this will test if all caps is fixed. So actually, Malik, I don't think you are not a good test person because mods are allowed to do things. We should get somebody else, either Clash of Clans or ABC123, do something spammy in the chat and help us test out Nightbot to see if that got fixed. I'll wait. In the meantime, let's carry on, shall we? I don't want to unmod you. Sorry. I'm not. That just feels dangerous to me. Even though I could just remod you. Actually, that's a good point. I could just unmod you, couldn't I? Let's see. I'd like to see, though. Yeah, ABC123 is also testing for us. So, yeah, I think that's fixed. Hang on, Malik. I will unmod you quickly. Okay, Malik, you are unmodded. Try it. See what happens. Yeah, I think it's working. I think Nightbot, I think it's working. Oh, yep, that still got deleted. This is good. This is good. I'm glad we have people willing to help us test. I already remodded you, Malik. I already remodded you. Tommy is here. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Happy to have you. All right. Are we ready to thank you to everybody who's hanging out in the chat and helping us test Nightbot and test some of the boundaries of Nightbot. I appreciate that. You guys are amazing. And ABC123 is saying, do you live stream in Twitch? I don't. I kind of just picked YouTube as the place where I was going to hang out. I have to admit, I was thinking about checking out Rumble. Yeah, I was thinking about checking out Rumble. I was also thinking, I've heard that you can also stream to, well, I know you can also stream to X and LinkedIn. I don't know how to do that with OBS though. I think you have to have like paid software, like what is it that that a lot of people use, StreamYard. I think you need a paid solution like StreamYard in order to do stream to multiple places. But there must be a solution on OBS where you could stream to multiple places. So I was thinking about doing Rumble, maybe LinkedIn, and maybe X. I think that could actually be really good for the channel if I started doing that. So I'm going to look into that because I'm streaming 4 days a week now. This is a good time to let people know that in April, I'm going to be streaming every single day in April. I'm doing something called a 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript challenge, where in order for me to get better at my own JavaScript skills, I am going to do a JavaScript challenge every day for 30 days. And we're going to build a website called 30daysofvanillajavascript.com. We're going to deploy a UI with a challenge and the prompt and the solution to the GitHub and to the website every day for 30 days. So I'm really excited about that. And I do think it would be a lot of fun to figure out how to stream to multiple spots, Rumble, X, and possibly LinkedIn. I think that if I could imagine streaming to 4 different platforms at the same time, that could be really big for the channel. So yeah, I'm going to look into that. I really don't want to switch to StreamYard. I like using OBS, but I don't know how to do that, so I have to look into it. But I've got a little time here. I've got a couple of weeks. So let's see here. And Tommy says, is front-end development harder than back-end development? I honestly think that it depends on who you ask. I bet if you ask a back-end developer, they're going to say front-end is hard. If you want my opinion, I think back-end is harder. I do have a software engineering degree. I think that object-oriented programming is very complex, and I really struggle with it. I am much, much better at front end. I am very good at building user interfaces, making sure that things are responsive, accessibility. I do enjoy understanding some aspects of search engine optimization. I think SEO and accessibility go hand in hand. I think using semantic HTML complements the entire process. So I really love the front end part of that, but I struggle admittedly with the JavaScript. I think for basic DOM manipulation, I do just fine. But for where I'm at in my career, I think that I'm kind of a very average intermediate user of JavaScript, which is why I want to do the 30-day challenge in April and get better at JavaScript. I say it every year that I'm going to work harder and practice more on my JavaScript, and I don't do it. So I need to start doing that. So I think it just depends on who you ask. You tell me, do you think front end is harder than back end or vice versa? You tell me what you think. And Malik says, I know multi-streaming is a thing, but that would be me needing multiple mods. That would mean needing multiple mods for each chat. Interesting. I hadn't thought of that. ABC123 says, should PHP be used as an alternate of JavaScript? I think PHP and JavaScript do two different things. I mean, JavaScript is client side, but I feel like Node kind of makes it server side, right? Which I don't really use Node here. I do vanilla. So for my purposes, JavaScript is client side, PHP is server side. Now, that being said, I think that PHP is incredibly useful when you're doing vanilla builds like I do. And I have done that in the past. I don't really do that now. You can't use PHP with live server, but you can use a free solution like MAMP or WAMP. I'm on a Mac, so I use the free version of MAMP. And you can easily build a static website and use a little bit of PHP for templating. It's incredibly useful. So I think it just depends on the application. I really like PHP. It isn't talked about. I don't think it's the cool thing to talk about anymore. I think everybody's like, oh, React, right? We all love React, but I think PHP is still awesome, in my opinion. And ABC123 says, I think I should watch lives and these types of videos rather than just chatting with girlfriend so that I can learn some good things. Chat with your girlfriend too. Listen, I don't want to delve into your personal life, but if you found your person, don't ignore her, okay? You can do both. Both things can be true. You can chat with your girlfriend and you can watch more lives. Do both things. The GF is equally important in my opinion. So if you found your person, don't ignore that. So, all right. I love it. I love the questions. I love the questions and I love the comments. So should we get back to, oh no, we have to finish with our images. So we're going to run a script and we are going to crop. So I'm in Affinity Photo and my apologies, I cannot zoom in on this. So we're going to do a new batch job and then I'm going to add those photos. So we'll go to projects. This is called Colorado. Here's our images. And I want all of the landscape orientation images. So we've got 5. That'll give us a nice variety for heroes. And then we're going to save this into the same location. I'm going to put this in, I'm going to do a new folder and we'll call it hero. Just so we know which is which. So that's the location we're going to save them into. And we're going to save these as JPEGs. And they should be no wider than 1920 and no taller than 1920. And then we're preserving the aspect ratio. That's what this little checkbox is. And then we open up here the quality. Ideally, we would want a hero image to be no bigger than 200 kilobytes, right? Kilobytes, kilobits. So the quality here is set to 85. I'm actually going to set this down to 50. Now, it doesn't tell me what each image file size is going to be, so I'm doing a little bit of guesswork here. One moment, please. So I'm doing a little bit of guesswork here and saying quality 50%. And the goal is that we get these hero images down to about 200 kilobytes. So we'll see how that goes. I think that'll be okay. So I'm going to say okay. And then it processes all of the images. And so now let's take a look and see. 192, excellent. 247, okay. 287, 281, 421. Okay, you know what? It's not the end of the world. It's okay. We're doing a good job optimizing images here. So maybe we could have gone down to about 30 or 35, but we're gonna roll with it. This is still good. We're still in a good spot here. So now we have a little higher crop. This is the image I want to switch out for the home page. So let's do that. Let's do that right now. So let's go to the home page. And which one is that? So it's this one. And the photographer is Melanie Magdalena. And what is this? So we need some alt text. Doesn't have to be a novel, but it does have to, be descriptive. So this is rocks from, let's see here, large orange rocks from the Grand Canyon. I'm making that up. I don't know if that's where they're from. That's just what it looks like. Ooh, I like it. Yeah, I do. I like it. I mean, I feel like we might be breaking some rules when it comes to accessibility and text. But I like it. I like it. So, okay, let's go back to our page template. I like this image too for the hero. I am thinking about sort of adjusting this aspect ratio. Even though we got the exact aspect ratio here, 1920 by 710, I think it needs to be a little shorter. I think it needs to be a little tighter. I personally, this is a 27-inch monitor, but it's a traditional 16:9 aspect ratio. I personally don't like to see image go all the way to the bottom of the screen. That's just my personal preference. So I'm going to tighten that up a little bit, but let's at least get a better optimized image in here. So we'll go over to, here's our page template, index.html. And which image is that? And it's this one right here. And the artist is Brianna Tozur. I think we can just swap that out right there. There, you can already tell that that is a much better optimized image. And then we'll glance here at our page load time. So let's put in the proper placeholder text. So I feel like this is a long road in a valley with trees. A long winding road in a valley with tall trees. Just something descriptive for folks that are on using a screen reader. So let's just glance at our page load time now. So if we go to network, make sure that you have disable cache checked. We're clearing everything. We'll go ahead and reload. I mean, this is not bad at all. 25 requests, 852 kilobytes. Kilobytes or kilobits? I forget which. Basically less than a gig. Less than a... Right? Do I have that right? Kilobytes, gigabytes, megabytes. Less than a gig transferred. And that's with an image. Well, we got the low one, 192K. But look at our file sizes. Look at our file sizes. This is part of our kitchen sink, so we'll get rid of that. Our CSS, this is the CSS file from Google Fonts. Our normalized 6.4 kilobytes. Our style.css 18.4 kilobytes. Our hero image 192. Our placeholder image is only 14.7. Script.js 4.6. We're killing it on page load time. This is excellent. So something to keep in mind as front-end developers. Just take a peek at your page load times. Simple things like minifying your files. Certainly the server has a lot to do with that. You want that stuff probably gzipped and sent over from the server. I don't think anything is gzipped here, obviously, because we're working locally. But we could definitely start looking at stuff like that. Let's check our headers. Yeah, there's obviously nothing is gzipped here, right? But we could take a look at that when we actually deploy this. Is that something, though, that you have to do if you're using like Cloudflare? Because I don't know if it would really be gzipped just coming from like a generic LAMP stack. See, this is where it gets to be a little bit beyond my expertise in deployment, but I know of these things. If I was at work, I would go to the architect engineers and I would say, hey, we need to implement this on Cloudflare or whatever. Let's go ahead and tighten up this aspect ratio. Right now it's like 2.7 to 1, I think. Right here. Yeah, it's 2.7 to 1. So what if we, let's check out just 3 to 1. Beautiful. Perfect. This is all I want, is I just want to see some part of the page peeking beneath that banner. So that's perfect. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So now let's get back and keep going and styling our kitchen sink stuff. Make this a little bigger. So I said yesterday that it might be a good idea to go ahead and style some of these headings. Like maybe we could do so these headings, presumably, we're not really okay. So think of like a content management system or like a WordPress website. We'll use WordPress as an example. Think of these headings being entered into like the text editor without a class. Imagine that you turned this site over to the site owner who's like your average small business owner. They're not going to be adding classes to H1s, H2, H3s. I mean, you'll be lucky if they even use these correctly and listen to anything that you had to say at all about page template hierarchy, right? So styling these would mean that you would be styling the element themselves. Would that clash? Would that clash with the styles that we're already doing? Yeah, I'm just going to leave these. These are just going to be the browser styles. I'm not going to do anything special to these. Good. I'm glad I had a chance to talk that out. So let's get down to about here. So I think where we left off then yesterday is right here, horizontal rule. Let's refresh our memory on when the horizontal rule is actually should be used. The thematic break, horizontal rule. The HR element represents a thematic break between paragraph level elements, for example, a change of scene in a story or a shift of topic within a section. So I had this thought yesterday that the borders that we were dealing with on the home page, maybe I could have used HR's horizontal rules instead. But then I was like, oh, I don't think I can use an HR outside of a section. So these would be used to separate sections. And this very specifically says, or a shift of topic within a section. So it would not be appropriate to use HRs for the borders in between those sections. Basically, what I'm saying is the approach that I took with pseudo elements, the after pseudo element, was the correct approach. But we do still want to style HRs and hope for the best. So I want to style the HRs, though, the way that I styled those pseudo after elements. So let's do that. Let me find it. So these are basically the styles right here. It's really this. We don't need to do any of these other things. So it's really just this and some margin and padding. So let's style our HR. I'm going to put it right here. We definitely need to do a little CSS refactoring. We'll definitely do that. So our HR is just going to be a border bottom. I think we probably want to say something like width 100%, height 0. You don't want it to really have any height. And then let's make sure that it does have some padding. I'm going to say 3 rems on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. And then let's go back to our page template. Oh, was my page scrolled? Is that why that, hang on. Okay, so here we are at 100%. You can still see the bottom, but when I zoom in, you can't see the bottom. That's okay, that's fair, that's fine. Here's an example of a line break. That's obviously not what we want. Oh, it's because the padding's on the inside. So really we want this to be margin. And oh, HR takes color. Interesting. So here's the user agent style sheet for HR. And it is a block level element. Okay. Fair. So let's just change the color to gray. That looks a little dark. I think this is still getting, let's see here, color, transparent border bottom, 1 pixel, solid, gray. Okay, why are you so dark? Stop it. Maybe let's do overflow. This says overflow visible. Oh, we're competing with normalize. So we don't need to, okay, I'm going to change this to, that doesn't seem to matter. Overflow hidden, border style inset. I think this is it. I think this is the reason why. Border style, what are my options? None. Okay, we're getting close. Height, 1 pixel. Oh, well, maybe it's because of the border style. So let's just do border style solid. Wow, I had no idea this was going to be this complicated. Why do I have to have both of these if I'm saying solid? That doesn't make any sense to me. And this is clearly, even with height 0, this is clearly bigger than a pixel. I've styled many in HR before. I don't remember it ever being this confusing. So I guess this is good. Border width. Yeah, you have to have something there. What about 0.5 pixels? There, that looks more normal. That looks like a normal, it's gotta be because it's all the way around, right? Hang on, maybe we just need to do this in the right order. So border style solid, border width. What happens if I just say 0 and then I let border bottom do the work? There we go. So now it looks like a normal border. I think we just had to get our, we just had to do this in the correct order. So what if I say none there? Because these are the user agent style sheet styles, but I want to use this to style. So I think I just need to do this, and then I can do this. Yes. Wow, that was complicated. That's okay. That's cool. Life is complicated. Life is complicated. Yeah, so it's because of the user agent style sheet. That's why. So I had to style specifically what was already part of the user agent style sheet and then put my styles beneath that. So, okay. And excuse me for one moment. I have to go close the window because there's somebody outside blasting their stereo. I don't know if you can hear that. So give me a moment. All right. That was a DoorDasher outside. So, no criticism. She was lost. So, ABC123 says, that's why one teacher saying front end developer use more Google to do projects. I'm not sure. I don't know what this comment means. Do you think I should be Googling more often? That could be what you're saying. Um, I I like to figure things out. I like to be a problem solver. So do you tell me what you mean? Do you think I should have Googled why this wasn't working? I have to tell you, if you don't know, I started learning front end development. I'm self-taught. I started learning in 2009. There was no ChatGPT. Google didn't have all the answers. We had to read documentation and experiment and figure things out. So I still tend to solve problems that way. So let me know if that's what you meant. But our HR, our horizontal rule is now styled the way I want it to be. So that makes me happy. Okay, next. We have paragraph text with a line break. I don't think there's anything here that we need to do to style this. I think this looks fine the way it is. And then of course, here's our section, which has padding in between the sections. You know what we could do? No, I was going to say we could add a pseudo element and do another border, but I don't want to do that. So, and note to start, I know you are trying yourself for best. It is best practice. Yeah, agreed. Listen, it depends on what you're doing and what you're working on. If you're at work and you're trying to quickly solve a problem, go ahead and Google things, obviously. But this is my practice time, and part of my practice time for me is like real set problem solving. And I also want to like show new developers what problem solving looks like if you have a desire to do so. So I don't Google very often unless I really need to. So I'm also not in a time crunch. I'm not in any hurry at all. So there's that. I'm just here chilling, practicing. Okay. So what do we want to do here? Do we want to do something fancy with these unordered lists? We have a marker. Can we change the color of a marker? Let's ask. I'll make this a little bigger. So let's check the marker pseudo element on MDN. I do want people to get comfortable reading documentation for sure. Okay, so limited availability. It looks like it's not super available in Safari, so keep that in mind if that's important to you, that you're supporting every element in Safari. The marker pseudo element selects the marker box of a list item, which typically contains a bullet or number. It works on any element or pseudo element set to display list item, such as the list item element and summary elements. Allowable properties, color. That's what we want right here. So let's just set the color to the list item marker. Let's set the color to our accent color. Let's do it. So do we want to modify our padding or our margin? Do we like having things indented this much? I'm inclined to not worry about it, to just leave it, although it does have a lot of padding. Padding inline start 40 pixels. Let's go ahead and update the marker and just change the color for now. So we'll do ULLI and OLLI. Oh, marker. Color, bar, accent. There. So now that's green. Both the numbers and the bullets are green. What else do we have available here? Marker, color, content, counter increment, counter reset, counter set, quotes, text combine, upright, Unicode, biddy, direction, and white space. Honestly, all I really want to do is adjust the padding. I'm fine with the margin. I just want to adjust the padding. So UL, OL, we know it's 40 pixels because that's what the user agent style sheet says. So UL, padding inline start 40 pixels, OL, padding inline start 40 pixels. Let's just move it over a little bit. Padding inline start. So what's 40 pixels in rems? 40 divided by 16 is 2.5. So let's change it to 1.5 rems. There, and that scooches it over a little bit. What else could we do? I can't add margin to this. Margin, right. Nope, can't add margin. Is that just because it needs to be, I mean, yeah, those things don't work. The documentation was pretty clear. Content is interesting. Does that mean that we could add anything in there? So content, what do I want to put in there? Something silly. Oops. Yeah, so you can change the content. So we could change the bullet if we want to, if we wanted to make it bigger or look different. I don't really have a desire to do that. So, okay, I'm going to move on. There's our unordered lists. Okay, description list. I have styled these before. Description list, MDN. The description list element. The DL HTML element represents a description list. The element encloses a list of groups of terms specified using the DT element and descriptions provided by the DD elements. Common uses for this element are to implement a glossary or to display metadata, a list of key value pairs. Okay, so what is our markup here for a description list? So this would be the key, and then this would be the value. Got it. And our default style looks like what? This. Okay. So let's make the DTs a different color. Yeah, we could fancy this up a little bit. So we've got DL, DT, text transform, uppercase, letter spacing, 1 pixel, color. We'll give this our accent color. And then the DD, so DL, DD, let's so the display is block by default. That's good. It has margin of 40 pixels. So let's change the, what is it? Margin inline start. Margin inline start. We'll do 1.5 rems. Let's give it a tiny bit of padding, like 0.5 rems. And then let's do background color. We'll make it light gray. Let's actually remove this. Let's just make that 0. And then let's indent this a little bit. Can't we do text indent? 1 rem. And then we could change the padding of this. So 0.5 rems on the top and bottom, but we could do 1 rem on the left and right. What do we think of that for a description list? I kind of like it. And then let's give this a little more margin on the top and bottom. Margin 0.5 rems on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. That's a lot. And then let's also make the font weight 700. But also, I'm going to make the font size a little smaller. Font size 0.9 rems. Yeah, I like that. Bold, but just a little bit smaller. Okay, there's our description list. I think we did this. All right. I like it. Table. Next is table. I love styling tables. And Rayhan is here. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. And Rayhan says, I've been using a 14-inch Asus laptop for 5 years now. It can hold a battery for 2 to 3 hours. So I decided to buy a MacBook. Should I get the 13 or the 15-inch, which is better? And Malik says, I think it depends on what you prefer. Do you like bigger screens or smaller ones? So I have a 15-inch MacBook Pro. I have used a 13-inch. I think 13 inches is too small. But also, do you have external monitors? Do you have extra monitors that you're hooking things up to? That makes a difference too. If you're exclusively doing everything on a 13-inch, I think that's too small, in my opinion. I think a lot of it also has to do with your budget. MacBook Pros are very expensive. The one that, so my first MacBook Pro I bought in 2015, and it was about $2,600. And I had it for 9 years before I bought another one. And then I bought another one in October 2024. And it was just a flat, it was $3,000. Was it that much? Was it more? Was it about $3,000? That was a big purchase. That was a big purchase. But after 9 years, my 2015 MacBook Pro could definitely still do the work. I think front-end development has very low overhead when it comes to resources, but I absolutely could not stream with a 2015 MacBook Pro. So I had to get a new one, but 9 years is a great run when you have the same computer. So And Rayhan says, no, I don't have an external monitor, just the laptop. If you don't have an external monitor, I think that you need a 15-inch in my opinion, but that's just me. Go and like test them out. Are you ordering it online, or can you actually go someplace and test it out? And yeah, ABC123 is not wrong. Windows is definitely best for budget, but can I tell you, after many years of being a Windows user and switching to Mac for development, I think Mac is better for development. I know that that is a hot take, but I love using a Mac. I could easily use Windows machine, no problem, but I really like having a Mac. So there's that. And congratulations on your new purchase. Though that's fun to get a new computer. I loved getting a new computer when I got mine in 2024. So, okay. So here we are. Let's get going on our table. I love styling tables, so let's go ahead and style this one. Here's our table. And I'm going to cheat a little bit and look back at my GitHub, because I have very specific ways that I like styling tables. And so let me go grab those styles and I will walk you through them. Yeah, I would agree with this statement as well. Windows doesn't hold a charge like a MacBook. And I would say that MacBooks still have unexpected updates in my experience. Um, yeah, and the MacBook operating system is built off of a Linux kernel. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. So, and that is a little friendlier for front end development, especially if you're on the terminal as much as I am and you like to do things like rsync. And yeah, so there's trade-offs. There's definitely trade-offs. Front end development, like I said, has very low overhead. You could easily do front end development with either Mac or Windows or Linux. It just depends on what you're willing to do for it, right? So, okay, so let's go ahead and style our table. So I'm just going to say width 100%. And I'm going to text align everything to the left. And border collapse. We want to collapse. Get rid of those borders, which I think is technically already done here. I think that normalize already does some of that. Yeah, but the user agent style sheet. Border collapse, separate, box sizing, border box. Okay, moving on. And I always do width 100%. So. And then for the TR, which is right here, so we've got, this is important for accessibility, that we always have a head, right? And these are always scoped as columns. That's really important for screen readers, so the screen reader knows which direction to go in. Then we've got the body, and I am actually going to make a change here. So we've got a table row, and then we've got table data. I think TD stands for table data, right? So we actually, this is not, in my opinion, the right way to do this. We want the first item in the row to also be a TH. And this should also have a scope equal to row, because we want the screen reader to understand that it's rows and columns. And in order for this to be accessible, we need to have these correctly scoped. So I'm going to scope row. So the first item in the table row is a table head scope row. Here's the other thing that we're going to do. So our headers are name, role, and location. We are going to use data attributes. And this is important for the responsiveness. Has nothing to do with accessibility. The accessibility part of a table is using the correct markup and elements and scoping your columns and your rows. That is the most important thing that you do for accessibility on a table. Everything else that I'm about to show you is purely for responsiveness. So we're going to put a data attribute equals, and the data attribute is these three things. So what is this? This is the name. The next one is the role. And the next one is the location. And we have to put this on every single thing. So I'm just going to copy these. And we'll put this here as well. You guys, this is going to be so cool. You're going to love it. And this is so easy to do if you're working in a content management system or you're working in WordPress. Getting these data attributes in here dynamically, incredibly easy. Yeah, it's really easy. So, okay. So now we're set up for accessible, responsive, and responsiveness. Now let's come back over here and just finish actually putting in our styles. So you can see here that anything with a TH, a table, what are we calling it here? A table head, which is basically, excuse me, TH, which is like a, okay, let's get the official names, Angela. THMDN stands for the table header element. So we've got the table head element, the table header element, and you can see here in the documentation that in the table head, the table header element, they are all scoped as columns. And then in the body, in the table row, the first item is a table head scoped as a row. And then the browser, by default, gives these bold styles, but we're going to come in here and fancy this up. So next we want table rows to have borders. So we want just these rows to have borders. Is that what I want to do? Border left, border right, border bottom. Okay. I'm going to follow my previous example and we'll adjust as needed. So I'm just going to say border 1 pixel solid, and we're going to make these gray. So there's our rows. And then I'm going to alternate the background color. So we're going to say TR nth of type. Oops, TR nth of type. And I'm going to say even. This is a pseudo class, background color, var, and we're going to make this light gray. So now we're alternating, and if we had more items, but it starts, so here's 1, 2, 3, so it starts with number 2. Excellent. And then the TH and the TD, we want to give those also some border. So TH, oops, TH, TD. I'm going to say border left 1 pixel, solid gray. There we go. So that's putting it on the left. Let's make sure that those have some padding. Padding. 1 rem all the way around. There we go. That's pretty juicy. Can probably take that down a little. 0.5. There. That looks good. It's starting to look like a real table. Now I want my TH element, which is this basically full width row. We could do it on the TR. I'm going to do this on the TH. No, the T head. I'm going to do it on the T head. So I'm going to come up here. T head. Background color. Our accent color, and then we want to make the actual text color white. There we go. I love it. So now how do we make this responsive? And notice I'm not specifying widths for my columns at all. I'm letting them be whatever they need to be to fit the text. We could specify the width. So how would we do that? We would do that by specifying the width of probably these, right? So if we say that these should all be, well, we would want to do it by the I guess we could just say width 33.333%. Since we have 3 columns, now they're exactly the same width. There, that works. So you can specify the width, you cannot specify the width. It doesn't really matter. I tend not to. I just let it be whatever, I just let it fit the content. So I'm going to leave it. So how do we make this responsive now? I'm glad you asked. So when does this hold up? This holds up to about, here's 600 pixels. This still looks pretty good as a table. So let's do a media query for 600 pixels. At media, max width, 600 pixels. What's the first thing that I want to do? I want to make this disappear, but I only want it to disappear visually. I still want it to be accessible by a screen reader. So I'm actually going to borrow my screen reader only text, which is or CSS styles right here. So now we can't see it, but it's still there. It's still accessible by a screen reader. It's just not visually accessible. Okay, what's the next thing I want to do? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the TH and the TD, table head, table data, display block. By default, they are display table cell. We're going to change them to display block. And that's going to put them in a nice little column for us. There we go. Nice little column. Now I'm going to undo this alternating. We're going to undo that because it doesn't really work for mobile. So background color is going to be transparent. And instead, I'm going to do that on the TH and the TD. So I'm going to say TH, nth of type, even, and TD, nth of type, even. And we're going to say, oh, just want this. There we go. And then we need to add our data attributes. So on the, hang on here, we're going to add that to the so we're going to add data attributes to the TH and the TD. Okay, TH, TD, before, TD, before. It's been such a long time since I've done this, and yeah. Oh, and we're going to do attribute. So content takes in a value called attribute, and the attribute is called data attribute. Data attribute, just like that. We want these to be just, so if we look at this now, it's taking this text and it's adding it as content. So name, role, location, name, role, location, name, role, location. So data attributes are not accessible by screen readers. So a screen reader is not going to read this out. That's why you can have this here and it doesn't break accessibility. The screen reader is only reading out the actual text content values, not data attributes. So hiding this with screen reader friendly CSS preserves the accessibility of the table, but visually for responsiveness, we can change how it looks. We can actually make it responsive. So we go from this to this. Now let's finish styling the attributes. So we have our attributes in there. We want those to be display block. Now it's stacked on top. We want to give this a little bit of padding. We're going to make it look like a cell, just like any of the other table cells. A little bit of padding. Oh, but just on the top and bottom, not on the left and right. There we go, just like that. So there's our attribute. And I think we need to give it a little margin on the bottom to push it down. I actually think that we only need it on the bottom. There we go. Now this kind of looks like a normal cell right there. Let's take out the padding on the TH and the TD, and we can add it to the individual No, we kind of need it though, don't we? Let me see how I did this. I'm looking back at a past project where I initially wrote all this, and it's in Sass, so I'm trying to deconstruct it into vanilla JavaScript. I left everything. How did I deal with this padding? That's not what I want, because I want this to be... I have to take this padding off for mobile. But I'll give this padding. There we go. So that is full width now. I think I need to put this, the text. I think if we put the text inside a div or paragraph tags, it needs an element around it. That might be a good way to go. Let's adjust our markup here. So this is fine. No, we do need... Do we want a div or do we want paragraph tags? They're both block level elements. You could use spans, but spans are inline, so you'd have to change the display property, and you might as well just use something that's already display block, right? We'll Google it. If I'm, let's see here. Should I use a div or p element for table content? For content inside of a table cell, you should prioritize the following based on the content's nature. Use a paragraph element if the content is genuinely a paragraph or multiple paragraphs of text. The P element provides specific semantic meaning for paragraph level content. Use a div element if you need a generic container for styling purposes, or if the content includes other block level elements like headings, lists, or other divs. Because paragraph elements, and I do know this, cannot contain other block level elements. A div is a generic block container with no specific semantic meaning, making it suitable. Use neither if the content is plain text, numbers, or simple data. But okay, so div. Div is the absolute right way to go. So that's what we'll do. See if we can do these all at once. There we go. So now we have, oh, did I screw something up? Okay, there we go. So now we have divs, and that's going to help us with styling. And Guarav, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Hello. I'm a second year student right now. I started with HTML and CSS, and my target is to learn full stack and go for freelancing in my third year. Whoops. Any advice from your side would be very meaningful. Keep practicing. Yeah, I mean, I was a freelancer for many years, so
If you're in the beginning of your career and you're learning, I would say anything project based. Oh, I have a little red mark there. Any kind of project based learning that you're doing is the absolute right way to approach front end development. Um, courses and tutorials. I feel like there's a hierarchy of learning. I feel like courses introduce you to a topic. You learn the syntax, the rules, the syntax, things like that. The tutorials answer very specific questions that you have about something, but project based learning is where the real learning happens. So if you want to be a freelancer, if you want to be a freelancer, you need to know more than just how to be a developer. If you want to freelance, you have to learn how to deal with people. You have to you have to understand project management, project planning. You have to do the work from concept to deployment. You have to talk to your clients about how the work is going to be maintained. If you're doing a handoff, who's going to take care of that stuff? Who's going to host it? There's huge opportunities there to make money in terms of maintenance and support. So there's a lot to do for freelancing. It is so much more than just doing the code. It's about really walking clients through a process and helping them. Yeah. So it, I think that freelancers are still really important these days, and with ChatGPT you have a ton of support. It's never been easier to take on a job by yourself with all of the help that you could get from ChatGPT. It's not like it was back when I was freelancing, where I would take on work that was beyond the scope or beyond my skill set, and I really struggled sometimes to get that work done and deployed. But nowadays with ChatGPT, it's never been a better time to be a freelancer, because you have so much support from things like ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot or whatever it is that you use. So project-based learning, get out into your community, start meeting people, network with small business owners. They all talk to each other. They all went to high school together. They all went to college together. Referrals are the most important part of winning business with your clients. If you do really good work for one or two people in your community, they will tell other people. They will tell other small business owners. It's a great way to bring in new work and new clients. So good luck to you. I love questions like that. So, okay, so now we have our div. Here's our div. So let's take the padding off in our media query. So right here, we're going to say padding 0. And we are going to do padding all the way around on the pseudo element, but just a little bit of margin below it. Perfect. And then we're going to style this div also to have padding. So I'm going to put it right here. We can just say div, right? No, let's be a little more specific. So we'll say th div and td div. Padding 0.5 rems. There. So there we go. And there we go. And yeah, we don't need that margin, do we? So now we have container, 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 container. So now let's make our pseudo element look like a header. So we want the th before and the td before. Well, you're welcome. Good luck to you. And thanks for hanging out with us today. Appreciate you. Okay. So here's our pseudo elements. Let's give these a background color of our accent color. And then we'll make sure the color is white. Actually, I think just the first one. Let's just do the first one, not all of them. So we're going to do the TH before. TH before. There we go. So name, Angela, role, front-end developer, location, remote. And then let's put some we'll put some borders in here because it looks a little goofy right now, but let's put some borders in here. So I think we want a border bottom on the TD. And I think we've got some borders doubled up here. Yeah, you can see there that this has got, so we have to clean up our borders a little bit. That's okay. So let's do TD, border, bottom, 1 pixel, solid, and we'll make that gray. And we should do it on both, shouldn't we? Boy, we're all over the place with this table. If you're still hanging out here, thank you. Yeah, that looks much better. Look at that. That looks a lot. Look how good that looks. Okay, now let's make sure our headers look a little bit like headers. We could even make these display inline. So we could make the TD before element. Those could be display inline. No, let's not do that. Let's just, but I am going to do this. Let's put, can't I just do like this and add? No, that broke it. I think can't I do that? There we go, but it's not actually adding it. Oh, I think I have to add it. Hang on. Like this. Nope, that didn't work. There we go. Okay, so now we have a semicolon there. And then on the TD before element, just the TD right here. Let's do text transform, uppercase. Well, do we want to do it for all? Let's do it for all of them. Letter spacing, 1 pixel, and then let's adjust the font size a tiny bit down to 0.5 rems. But for this, let's make the color our accent color. Oh, wow, that's too small. Oh, that's the wrong size. 0.9 is what I meant to do. There we go. And then let's make sure it's bold. Font weight. And then let's take off the padding on the bottom.
Let's take off the padding on the bottom. So we'll have 0.5 on the top, 0.5 rems on the left and right, and 0 rems on the bottom. There we go. So there it is. There's our table styles. But actually, we'll keep this all the way around for the TH, we'll do that. And then for the TD, we'll do this. There we go. Oh, what do we think? I know it's very fussy. It is very fussy table styling. But look at this. Look at this now. Look at these table styles. Beautiful. So now we need to kind of clean up our borders. Our borders are a little sloppy. So let's work on that. Let's work on that. And Christian Coates is here. Welcome. How you doing? How are things going? Boy, you stream a lot. You don't just stream every day, you stream multiple times per day. So I love it. If you're streaming in the evening when I'm getting ready for bed, sometimes I just turn you on and I lay down and I just listen to the soothing sound of your voice as you're working. It's very relaxing. So thanks for coming to hang out with us today. How are you doing? Okay. So let's see here. How are we currently doing our borders? So we have borders on the TR. I think I want to change the borders on the TR to be the table body only and do separate borders for the T head. Yeah, hanging in there. We're in the middle of a 6-day sprint. So today is day 3 of the 6-day sprint. And then we're going to take Friday off because nobody should have to be in meetings on Friday. This is kind of like a meeting, right? And then on Saturday, we're going to start another 6-day sprint, which I'm kind of excited about. So I missed a little time. For people who don't know, I have a dog. Her name is Heidi. She's a Sheltie. And she was very sick the first week in February. She had something called pancreatitis. I am not going to describe what that is. If you really want to know, you can Google it. Pancreatitis for a dog. It was very dramatic and it was very expensive. And we had a 3-hour visit in the middle of the night to the emergency room vet in St. Paul, Minnesota. And it was a lot. And she's doing great now. I would say that she is fully healed, fully back to her normal self. But it wasn't just the sickness itself, like recovering from that. It was so much. And she's 10 years old. I've had her since she was an 8-week-old puppy. So we are fully codependent on one another. And I'm a realist. I know that dogs don't live forever. They have short lives, very short lives. She's actually my 3rd dog. If I'm lucky, I've got another 3, 4, maybe 5 years left with her. And I just really want those to be healthy, joyful years for both of us. So it was a lot to deal with. Anyways, I'm repeating all of this because I missed like 3 days of streaming at the beginning of February. So I thought, let's do a couple of sprints. We can make up some time. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're working on. So yeah, she's doing great now though. She's doing amazing. She's right next to me sleeping on the floor. So she's a good girl. She's my little poopsie. So, okay. I want to take so where's our border? So first of all, we have a double up border here. So let's make sure that we are excluding the border on the first item. So we'll say TH first of type and TD first of type.
And we'll say border left none. There we go. So now, there, that looks great. Oh, and you have a dog named Malachi. Well, I've heard you mention your dog on stream before. What kind of dog is Malachi? I don't think I know that. Let's see here. I feel like there's still two borders here. Oh, so for mobile, we're going to have to do border left none for everything on mobile. All right, border bottom. So we'll say border left none. Okay, there we go. Not sure the breed, but he is a cutie. We love dogs. I'm a dog person. I grew up in a dog family. So I do like cats also, but I really only own dogs. So okay, what's next? So I want this to only be on the T body. The T body. And then I want T head TR to have a border that's a different color. Well, maybe we could still do this. But I can just specify the color. So T head TR border color is our accent color. No, that did not work. Oh, wait a second. Okay, so that did work. Now we have to do that here also. So we need the border color. Yeah, so the problem is we're not really going to be able to change that here unless we change the border for the whole thing. What happens if we change the border for the whole thing? So if we change the color on the TR for mobile, how would that look? Let's go with it. I like it. So here it is. Here's our table styles. Nice and responsive. I know that was a lot. I think it was a little chaotic. I apologize for that. I don't have all of these styles memorized. I have to go back and look in my GitHub all the time. So I have this GitHub right here. I'll put it in the chat. Called UI table. I did this years ago, 6 years ago. I did this. And this is something that I did with all SAS. I also wrote some JavaScript to make this dynamic. So you could easily make this dynamic. It's a little old. You could easily make this dynamic. But all of these styles I originally did as SAS. So I had to look at this and kind of deconstruct it. This is what I was looking at. I had to deconstruct it because everything here is nested. So if you stuck with me for that, I appreciate it. because it is not difficult to make a responsive, accessible table right here. So there it is. And Christian Code says, we take the best naps together. I used to have my previous Shelties were snugglers, so they love to snuggle. Heidi is not a snuggler. She's just like very impatient. She doesn't like to do that. So she's on the floor and I'm either on the sofa or snuggled up in my own bed. Christian Code says he's getting ready to learn Figma. What are your thoughts on Figma? I don't have really any specific thoughts on Figma. I don't personally use Figma. Do I have it here? I closed it. I use Affinity Photo, which is sort of a Photoshop competitor. I think they're owned by Canva now. I'm using version 2, which is prior to their update that they did just this past winter. I think they're all about the same. I started learning design tools like Illustrator, InDesign, and Photoshop. I started using Adobe design tools back in 2009, 2010 is when I started. That was back in the day when Creative Suite were actual discs that you bought and owned. It's not a SaaS thing like it is now. I think they're all pretty much the same. I've used Sketch a lot. I use Sketch a lot at St. Thomas. People at St. Thomas were starting to switch and use Figma. I never made the switch because I was not doing a lot of design. Oh, and I screwed up our border here. Okay, we'll go ahead and fix that. They're all the same. They all pretty much do the same thing. You just need a tool where you could have layers. That's it. Once you find a tool where you can have layers and you can draw boxes and shapes and text, I think they all kind of do the same thing. So pick one that you like and go with it. I think Figma is kind of like the thing that everybody uses right now, right? And ABC123 says, thank you. I learned many things from your live, like scope, div, class, and CSS use, DL, etc. I'm very beginner and I will try to connect live with you tomorrow also. Thank you. It's bedtime here. Well, thanks for staying up and hanging out with us. And also a suggestion, can you make a Discord server if possible, as it will help us connect different people through your live and to solve queries and problems? Yeah, I've been asked about Discord before, and I actually did make a Discord server a year and a half ago, back in 2024, and I deleted it because number one, I didn't have time to maintain it. I just didn't have time to be over there. Keeping an eye on things, looking at things, monitoring things. I just didn't have time for it. I've sort of made the decision that the community is here during the streams in the chat. That's the decision that I've made. There are some other things related to Discord that I'm just not crazy about. Some things that happen on Discord, some things that I've seen personally, some things that I've heard about. There are parts of Discord that I just don't want to be associated with. So I've made the decision to not be on Discord. And if that means that the community doesn't grow as quickly, I guess I'm fine with that, because that's just kind of the decision that I've made. So, but thank you for asking. We'll see how things go. You know, by the end of this year, I could have, I don't know, 10,000 subscribers. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if that's a crazy thought. And maybe it will be the right time to finally do Discord again. But I really don't want to. All of the garbage aside about some of the things that I've seen take place on Discord, I really just don't have time for it. I would rather the community be here during the live streams. That's kind of where I'm at with that right now. Caffeine Cowboy is here. Welcome. Haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for hanging out. My first Photoshop and Illustrator were on floppy disks. Listen, I remember the floppy disk days. I got my first computer in 1995 or 1996. That was the 90s, well into the 2000s. I remember going to Target and Walmart and buying extra floppy disks. That was well before flash drives. Remember flash drives in the early 2000s, how expensive they were? The first time I saw a flash drive was in 2004, 2005. I remember I was in paralegal school at North Hennepin Community College in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. I was in paralegal school, and one of my classmates had a flash drive attached to her keychain, and I was like, what is that? And it was like, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was so cool. And I went to Best Buy to go get one, and it was like $60. And it was probably, I don't even know how much memory had on it, 256K, I'm sure. Not very much, probably more than that, 200, maybe 256 megabytes, something like that. So minuscule, hardly anything. And it was like $50 or $60. It was ridiculous. And yeah, we had big floppy drives. I remember more than the big ones. I remember using the more like the 3.5 inch. So they were like square and they were hard plastic. But I remember many trips to Target in particular, like before class or after class, if I was writing papers, needing flash drives to go from my computer at home to the computer in the computer lab at the community college, which is where I initially went to school. So I could like start my paper at home and then go sit in the computer lab and work on my paper, right? Before the internet, before anything, where you just needed a computer, like basically as a word processor. And you had to get that stuff moved from point A to point B with floppy disks. That was the only way to do it. So, and Caffeine Cowboy says he's here on and off, just a lurker lately. Totally fair. My first college classes used the first floppies, the huge ones. Yeah, we might be similar in age. I suspect that we're similar in age. So I've said how old I am before. I won't reveal my age, but I don't mind letting people know that I am Gen X. And yes, I was born in the 70s. So there's that. Sounds like we had similar experiences. So, okay, well, I'm really happy with our table styles here. We're well over 2 hours, so I think that we can probably wrap this up for today. But let's fix our border here. So we do still need that border on desktop. I must have removed it in the wrong place. Let's see here. Oh, so this should be inside the media query. That's where we did. Wait, what was that? Okay. So we'll put this right here. I think this is the right place to put it. Okay, so there's our border. Can't see it. So there's our border right there. I moved this, was outside the media query. I put it inside the media query. There we go. Yeah, I like it. So there we go. We have a nice, responsive, accessible table. And again, I'm going to reiterate the fact that the table head, is being hidden on mobile with screen reader friendly CSS. So a screen reader is still going to come in here and read out the columns just as if it was on desktop. But we hide this for mobile, and then we use data attributes inside of a pseudo element before, right here, content attribute, and then we just name what the attribute is. Look, it even pops up there. It's such a beautiful way to deal with it, but content that is inside of a data attribute is not accessible by a screen reader, and it doesn't need to be because the head is still accessible by a screen reader. So this is purely for styling. And then with a good media query and a little shifting around, boom, bing, bang, boom, you have a nice little table here. So we love that. I don't see, even big sites, I don't see you doing nearly this much work to make responsive tables. At St. Thomas, we used tables so much for so much information. Think about the types of pages that we were building at a university, the types of data that we were giving to people, just like entire pages about the dorms or about food menus or the different places on campus, just like so much data, so much information. We use tables so much. So when I sat down and really came up with a good solution for table-based layouts that were accessible and responsive, man, I was like the hero when I did this. People loved this. My boss loved this. So it was a big deal. Anyways, so I should do some dedicated videos on tables. Yeah, I should. I'll put that on my list of things that I think I should do. So thank you, Malik. I appreciate that. Malik was our mod in the chat today. Christian Codes is also a mod in the chat. He hung out with us for a little while. Thank you to everybody who, well, if you go back and look at the beginning of the chat, there was some testing. We did some Nightbot modifications today. So thank you to Clash of Clans Legend, ABC123 was hanging out with us today. Rayhan was here. Tommy was here. Tommy is new. I don't think I've seen Tommy before. Tommy's my brother's name. So part of me was like, is that you, Tom? But I don't think so, because you're asking questions about front end versus back end. Let's see here. Yeah, Guarav is also here. Thank you so much for the guidance. You're very welcome. Appreciate everybody who comes to hang out. Caffeine Cowboy was here. Everybody, come back tomorrow. Hang out with me. We're going to keep going, styling our kitchen sink code. Yeah, come back tomorrow. Hang out. We'll keep working on this. Enjoying this a lot. I love doing these sprints. I think it's really fun. So, and we get a lot of work done. Everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are. I love all you fine people, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.